Good, good. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. I was looking at when we worked together. I can't believe it was the end of 2020. It's like that
Yeah.
was a very long time ago.
There. No, I was telling Sophia, my wife now, that we were chatting just before we met, maybe a little bit into maybe we were working together when we first met. But yeah, and I was like, that was over 2 years ago. So I was like,
Yeah, I
ah, so
I
much
feel
has
like
changed in that time.
I know
Crazy.
I'm so excited to hear the story. And I just remember after we worked together, you're like, yeah, I'm meeting a female friend, and I believe you were going to visit your wife now at that time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That
Was
would make sense. In
that
South
would
Africa, right? Was that?
Yes, 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 yes. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So that's
Um,
crazy.
well,
No, it's wild.
before I
Oh,
hear this story, I have a little surprise for you. Um,
okay.
I went in,
Intriguing.
I went into the archives and I want to share with you our first few minutes of working together. I actually have them recorded, our sessions.
Oh,
So I was able, and I just want to play with, show you one, what we look like, right? And then two,
so
what your intention was at that point. And then I kind of want to hear your fast forward to where you are now. But are you
okay.
ready for
Wow. Okay. I didn't see
a
this
little
coming.
nostalgia?
Okay. Let's see what happens. I'm very curious.
I'm sure you don't even remember this. It's so cool.
No, I don't.
That should be a good thing. It's money coming in. Like,
Right.
why did that stress me out? And then I clicked it and I looked at it and it was like Medicare. And I was like, wait, is that something that it should be there? And I had to do a little research. I really don't know about like even such basic things about myself. Oh, it's a government program. Okay, I'm supposed to pay it. So I didn't know if something was on there that I was paying that I shouldn't be paying because that happens to me sometimes. And because I'm not super savvy about my finances going in, going out, what I'm paying for, what I'm not.
Okay, so that's
So
with like looking at financial documents. This is like an example,
yeah.
right? Of
And
like,
then the same feeling comes up around this because it's like great to talk to you. If we were just hanging out and chatting, I don't think I'd feel so nervous. But it's like the same anxiety of like anything to do with taxes, finances, paperwork, just kind of triggers this. It's a little bit of a tightness in the chest or like a light anxiety.
but you're here, right?
Yes.
And it sounds like, are you still kind of like, let's do this? I'm all in and want to keep and ready to let go and set up 2021 properly, or to really
Yeah.
talk
I'm
about and have milestones.
I keep fluctuating, but yeah, like I read the testimonials and that made me feel more hopeful and ready to go. And
Okay.
then I'm like, I don't know, it's just like I think it's just yeah. So I am on a mental level I am
Okay.
at least. The emotional part is the part where I'm trying to navigate.
Okay, great.
So but I'm hoping that that will change hopefully if I can approach this process in a way that's nice or it feels good to me. Oh, then one thing about something about I wanted to mention that spiritual like it's a spiritual process. Your finances being a spiritual process, that aspect on your site,
Okay.
or I think it was in a testimonials that really spoke to me. So I'm hoping that that'll, help. I can change my relationships in that kind of way.
And that's my evil plan. So
Okay, good. Okay, great. Oh,
All right. So I just wanted to share that was our first couple minutes of our first session after we met, and you're like, that was your objective. That's what you wanted to work
Mm.
on, and we did amazing work. I so enjoyed working with you. You're very fun, and I feel like you've been very curious for a very long time. You've been doing this very exploratory work about life. But that
Mhm.
was one of your stagnations, right? Working with the
Mhm.
material world and finances and capitalism.
Mhm.
So I just be curious, yeah, maybe just like if you could share your experience, if you remember, like now that you reflect back of our time, like who you were before, and then like kind of how you had to work through your relationship with money.
Mhm. Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that comes up, I do remember that the taxes thing was one of the major themes. So I think we explored a lot of different things. My memory isn't the sharpest tool in my belt, so I don't. So it was nice to watch this to get a little refresher, I'd be curious. Things starting to come up when we talked about like quantum kind of theories, and there was a lot of different things that we went through. It was an experience. Um, but yeah, around taxes, I mean, it's definitely different because it's not the same. Like that feeling I described is not the same. Won't say that I'm like super excited when tax season rolls around, but it's
Yeah.
more like, look, this is something I'm gonna do. Like, I'll do my best. I still don't feel so confident in it, but hey, I'm just gonna do my best, and God willing, it'll be fine. It'll be good enough, and we'll just take if something comes up, we'll just deal with it then, kind of thing. And so yeah, there's a lot less of that heaviness and anxiety around the tax season. And then the thing that's also interesting is I feel like I'm wondering what may have shifted then that may have led to the changes in my financial situation since then. Because I feel like a lot of the work was more on an energetic level than just like an accounting and planning stuff. One thing I will say is that that program that you turned me on to, um, what is it called? Intuit?
Oh yeah.
Intuit QuickBooks or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Like at first, like I only look at that around tax season. So I'm not that kind of person who's super like on top of every bit of things.
Yeah.
Like that's just not my style. And at one point I was thinking of canceling it, but then 1 year it actually ended up saving me like almost $1,000 or maybe a little over $1,000 because there was some weird scam and someone had been taking money out of my account and I would have never noticed it if I hadn't seen something weird
Right.
on QuickBooks. And I'm like, what is this recurring payment from this thing that I don't know around tax season? And then I looked it up and then I sent a message to Wells Fargo and they were like, cool, we reimburse you. So I don't know if they ever caught the people, but I got reimbursed for that money and I would have just lost it. So I was like, okay, cool, let me keep that program around because whatever I'm paying like per month per year, it's paid itself back.
So you have some
So
kind of middle way
yeah,
approach and you're tracking your finances to the best that you want to. Like you just want it to kind of be on its
yeah, no, I mean,
zip in, you
yeah,
zip
exactly.
out. Yeah.
It's working for me, you know. It's like I think a good way, yeah, a middle way is a good way to put it. Like I'm doing what I feel like I need to do, and it's what other like the rest feels kind of unnecessary for me. I see that there would be benefit, but like that's not where I necessarily feel I want to focus my energy when it comes to finances. So
Yeah,
so I feel
great.
like I found a good balance there, you know. It's working for me. It's working for me.
Amazing. I love hearing that. I was looking
Yeah.
back to it all. We were unleashing the dragon with you, right? So we were
Yeah,
finding the energy
interesting.
and getting what I remember. So I have a very interesting memory. I can remember a lot of things.
Okay.
So, and
Oh,
I
good.
did go back. So I just remember you were working at that job. You actually liked the people you were working with. I remember there was a
Yes.
female that was kind of into some of these practices as well, but you still working for
Yes.
someone else. And but you
Mm-hmm.
really had a lot of these artistic projects going on. So a lot of our conversations were kind of like, I want to do this book. You had like a YouTube and you were just kind of like exploring and finding yourself. And that was my kind of lens and just as a observer. And with you, I really wanted to go deep with the art of listening. And if you remember, I gave you that ancient kind of Greek Roman Platonism. It was like, you ask the universe questions and you were having a
Yeah.
journal. And I was just trying to get you to tune in a little bit more to your stimuli and the environment instead of like being so in your head, because I felt like that was going to really
Mm.
push you on just another level. So do you recall that kind of
Okay.
work that we did?
Yes, I want to look into Platonism more, and now that you brought it up again. But what that like sparks in me in my memory is how things have evolved from then have been like the first thing that comes to mind. So this was right before I went to South Africa, right? So that's a good way for me to remember because I remember what I was doing when I first arrived there and stuff like that. So the first thing that happened that was interesting is that I was put in charge of a project with the lady that I'm working for. She wanted to start a nonprofit, and she basically put me in charge and gave me like full creative like direction for, and a lot of autonomy in doing that project. And it was something I was very excited and passionate about. And so I really dove into that and spent most of my like salaried time, creating this thing, which ended up not coming to fruition. Like, we didn't actually end up going that direction, but it was cool because I feel like it was a balance between my creative outlet and what I want. Because the other side of the business is pharmaceuticals and stuff, which is fine, pays the bills, but it wasn't like exciting. It wasn't something I'm like heartfelt passionate about. We made it as fun as we could, but again, it's not like, so this was something that I was actually like passionate and keen to be involved in and really excited about working on. And also around that time, I got an offer for someone who wanted me to illustrate a children's book. But interestingly, I ended up turning it down because I was really passionate about this project. And also I had gone to South Africa, and my wife, my now wife, we were just starting to spend time in person together. And I was like, I don't want this kind of big project in addition to my full-time work and just be working the whole time while I'm here. That's not where my priorities are. But it's interesting because what it had me do is I actually ended up asking for a lot more than I normally would have asked for a project like that, as far as financially, like my rates.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's say I would do it, like, what would I want to get paid? And so I gave her a figure that was like quite high for what I would think and I still think it's actually a really solid rate. And she was like, okay, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
Which is powerful, right? Like, it's actually something I've been revisiting, of being like, let me charge like something I feel really good about. Let me not charge like the bare minimum of what I feel would be comfortable for me. Let me charge like the medium amount, like what, not overcharge, but charge what I feel is a solid amount that I feel really happy about making. So anyways, so she said yeah, and then at the end I was still, and I think this was a good like kind of show of, like, I don't know, for some reason I'm happy that I made the decision to be like, no, I'm still not going to be able to take the project on. I'm sorry, the timing's not right. And now she's actually come back like 2 years later, and we're just restarting the project now.
Oh, wow.
So
that's amazing.
And then like since that time, crazy stuff happened with the pharmaceutical work, and basically like our main client decided not to pay us because their product didn't go to market, or they didn't pass an inspection, so their product wouldn't be able to go to market in time. And so they were in like panic mode, and basically they still haven't paid her like through 2 or 3 months, because they have like a 2-3 months grace period to pay their backlog bills. And we had like a whole team working on this stuff, like me and another coworker on full-time salaries, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's still going into litigation and stuff, but she had to put me off, full-time salary, and like everyone, had to go off full-time salary because they were our big client and we didn't have any other work coming in at the time. And so that really pushed me to start to explore like other means of financial income, and illustration has always been like one of my biggest joys and passions in life.
I love that.
And yeah, so slowly it's been, and like now, the income it's weird because like there's a lot of income like on its way, like projects where I'm like, once I can bill for this, like I'm almost done with it, or I'm just waiting for approval, and then I can bill for it, and then like larger chunks of money come in. But it's a little bit like, until that time I'm digging into my savings, and now it's like all these nice paychecks, juicy paychecks are right on the horizon.
Oh, I love it.
I feel like that's also a good place to be in spiritually, because on some level it's like accepting where you are, being grateful for what you have. Like it kind of accentuates those qualities, at least in my experience. And also given a little bit more like hustle. You know what I'm saying? Like,
a little more fire.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
If you remember
my portfolio, like,
so when I showed you the video clip, that was you loved it. You loved the testimonial that, I had another past client that built a real spiritual kind of relationship with money, and we worked on the spirit of money. You did a worksheet, you had some
Yeah.
resistance as well, and if I recall, there was a tree that came into your you worked with a tree to represent the money.
I mean, the metaphor of the tree really resonates with me. I mean, I'm really glad you're bringing these things back up. I'm sure they're on a deep level, you know, energetically still with me, but I hadn't consciously thought of that. And when I think of that, like the first thing when you said that and relating to the story is that like a tree grows slowly, but it puts deep roots, you know? So it's like it grows slowly, but it's there to last. And then it bears fruit like suddenly. You know what I mean? It's not like most of the year it's just got leaves, and then all of a sudden, boom, 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 like all the fruit comes. It's not like one fruit comes and then a month later here's two more fruits. It's like no, in one, and that feels very much like how my finances are shaping up. Like I'm building this solid relationship with several for some clients in the illustration world, and like the tree's growing. I keep getting, you know, I'm steadily getting new projects and stuff. And it feels like all those paychecks are like the fruits. And they're like all coming in at like the same time, you know. So it's an interesting as opposed to like me being more used to getting, you know, a certain amount each month and kind of having that steady. Which I think is cool, you know, it's exciting. It's kind of it's more fun to you know to see a big jump in your bank account, you know, kind
It
of
sounds
thing.
sustainable too, right? And it's like it sounds
Yeah.
so in tune with the rhythm of nature, and just like, you know,
Mm,
planting the seeds, and then having this beautiful,
yeah,
abundant bloom,
so
instead of
true.
like hustling, trying to get a dollar, right? And trying to like, you know,
Yeah,
and being survival and just kind of trusting the flow of it, right? And I think that's
absolutely.
something that you really wanted to work on. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, and then the planting the seeds again, an apt metaphor because I'm sending out my portfolio to illustration agents and just sending like, you know, a few each week, five or six, you know, not like stressing about it, but like they all say like we'll get back to you in several months, you know, because we get so many things. So I love that I'm like, you know, like planting these seeds and you wait months for it to sprout and then it grows like yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense. I'm
Oh, it sounds like you
cultivating
have a lot
this
of
orchard.
trust and faith in the process. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you're seeing the
absolutely.
manifestations at the divine timing versus like, hey, oh, where are they? I'm on this
No,
like linear timeline. So
oh man, I always tell my wife jokingly, but also not jokingly, I'm a non-linear being. Like it's already in the future, the past, it's all. No, it's really interesting. I mean,
yeah.
I definitely resonate with the um not like the other side of the coin of like cause and effect being like the material side and then the quantum side being more synchronicities or I don't know exactly what to call it, but like all my experiences that have been the most profound, all the jobs that I've gotten basically that have led me to the people and experiences that I most, you know, appreciate have been extremely random. Like it's never been like, okay, so I buckled down, I wrote my resume, I sent it to X, Y, and like I sent it to this many places, and these many replied, and no, it's never been like that linear kind of like I made it happen or like I chose this path, here's the cause, and this was the effect, and you could have expected that. It's always like, oh, this random person turned like introduced me to this person who sent me an email, and then that led to this whole job. Like basically what happened with the main people who have been giving me a lot of illustration work was I just asked like told a couple people that I was looking for illustration work. One of them forwarded me an email. I replied, didn't hear back for a couple weeks. Then I finally heard back, and then it just you know kind of evolved from there.
I
But
love
it was
this.
very much a like you know just kind of happened, and even meeting my wife was like a very definitely not planned. You know what I mean? Like it was very unexpected series of events that brought it. So
How did you
I
guys
think it
meet?
does. So in the job that I was doing, I started getting into the Enneagram. Have you heard of
No.
that? It's a personality typing system. I think you'd find it interesting. I think it would be worth looking up.
Okay.
But it's a personality typing system, and just to keep things simple. And I started to get into it. A friend of mine told me about it because she thought that I'd be interested in it. So I was like, cool. And I started kind of going down that rabbit hole. And for some reason, I mentioned it to my boss at the time, who I'm still working with, but at the pharmaceutical company. And she was like, cool, you should do a training and get certified in this so that you can lead a team building with the company that we're one of the companies we're working with in December. So I was like, cool, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah.
do that. Like that's, and so I found a place, and it's interesting because I was drawn specifically to this one company that does the Enneagram certification. There was like a few, but I was like, this is the one I want to work with. I didn't know why. Again, it's just like that's a feeling. That's like the
Yeah.
quantum side of things, I think. And so I brought it up with my boss. She was like, cool, do it. And interestingly enough, I didn't know this at the time, but the Sophia, my wife, is a trainer. She of like life coaching, different modalities, but the Enneagram is her specialty. So she wasn't actually meant to train this class, but she got a call last minute because the person who founded the company, who was going to lead the class, was having some problems with her electricity or something. And she was like, can you just sit in on this class in case my power goes out or something as a backup trainer? And she almost said no. And then she was just like, okay, like something told her to do it, right? Because she was
Wow.
like driving or something when she got the call, and she was like barely gonna make it in time. And she's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And so then, anyways, we had like 3 or 4 classes. And then I contacted her for private tutoring because or private mentoring because I wanted some help setting up the team building because I, was
Yeah.
fresh in this. And yeah, and then it evolved from there. You can imagine we
Wow.
started chatting on a personal level eventually. And then,
Were you
yeah,
looking for a relationship at the time?
I was definitely open to it,
Okay.
like, and it was weird because again, it was a feeling thing where I was like, something in me was telling me like this year I'm going to find a special someone. Like, I don't know why, but it was
Yeah.
like, so I think they like, I really do believe in the intuit. I mean, not even just believe, but like my experience has validated that like your intuition is a real phenomenon that can be trusted and is
That is gorgeous.
wise to allow it to guide you,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
the saying I would say in the quantum mechanics that we're talking about is believing is seeing versus seeing is believing. That's like the Newtonian physics,
Yeah.
right? So
Because
you
also, if in quantum, cause and effect are one. It's not like one comes after the other. So believing is
exactly,
seeing and seeing is believing. They happen at the same instant. They are two sides of the same coin, kind of thing.
but why are we believing it? I mean, like, just, what if we're just dipping into our future, right? So like you
Yeah.
feel so because you're so tuned in and tapped in, right? You can
Mhm.
feel it, you somatically, the sensation. So like this is the year you felt some kind of energy, right? But you
Yeah.
weren't forcing it. You believed it and you let it
No, it's
organically
true.
happen, and you weren't like chasing around going on all these, online dating sites, and you were just kind of
Yeah.
like putting it out there, and the
Yeah.
universe was
I was
like,
being
here you go.
open, but I wasn't like trying to make something happen, I
Right.
guess is what I would,
Yes.
how the energy that I was in, which I think is a powerful energy now that I've said that out loud. I think that's a really, like, I would just from this conversation, I want to take that away and remember that. And I always felt like the work we were doing together was more on like a systemic energetic level, you know? That's a big reflection that I have.
Elaborate on that.
Like shifts happening because like again I feel like this is from the quantum side or like the non-physical side of reality, that the shifts that happened were not mental. They're not, I mean there were some mental shifts I think, but the
Right.
important shifts were even like just having the intention to show up, like how I was nervous and kind of like I could see there was a part of me that was like, oh, I don't know about this, I'm kind of nervous, I don't know, at the beginning, but then choosing to lean into it and to like be open to the experience and whatever changes might come. Like I feel like that allows you know, like all of that work was shifting things on what I would call an energetic level, or like a soul or spiritual level,
Yeah,
so
I
that
love that. Thank you.
things
And
are
it's
like realigning. Yeah. So it's hard to
calibrating.
say like, oh, well, now I'm just, you know, doing this differently. Like, I don't know if I'm doing things differently as much as I'm energetically like existing differently, which I think is a
No,
lot more
that's
powerful and interesting.
exactly that. You
Yeah.
captured the essence of kind of
Yeah.
the work I study my whole life, and that's kind of my
Mhm.
offerings. But it's definitely like harmonics. It's
So
a
cool.
calibration of sorts versus like,
Ooh,
you
okay.
know, a get rich scheme, you know, like that's not
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
anything to do about it. So thank you. That's a beautiful
Mhm.
reflection. And it's a collaboration too.
Yeah.
I really want to emphasize that too.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were ready. It resonates. Like if someone wasn't really ready, like it would really
Mhm.
just go right over their head. So
Yeah.
I feel like those are the people that I work with. So I felt like we were really in synergy
Mhm.
about that. So I'm
But I
kind of,
would say to someone who's on the edge of being ready,
yeah.
like taking that step is what makes you ready. You know what I mean? Like
Okay,
if you're
yes.
like, I want to be ready, but I don't know, like I feel like there's still that free will aspect of it. Like you can choose to be ready or not. Um,
You're going to be
so
outside your
there is going to be
comfort
a bit of
zone.
resistance that comes in.
Yes.
Yes, there's that, which means you're going to grow, which means that like you're taking that next step. So that's really cool.
That's the definition of yoga, to stretch, right? So yeah, anyway, I love that.
Is it okay?
Okay,
That's
so this is one of the
interesting.
documents. I asked you, do you consider yourself powerful? Do people
Mm.
listen when you talk? And you were like, no, not really. So that's something we worked a lot on that. I was making you watch your video and
That's
showing you how powerful you are as a
interesting.
being. And that was the art of listening as well, because you didn't feel listened to. So I was trying to reconcile that with you. So I was wondering if that
Mm.
shifted at all.
I mean, I can definitely, I feel like one of the big things is perspective. So you can like create your reality based on what you look at. But I see, and now just seeing that and thinking about it, I'm like, I definitely see instances where I do feel like I'm powerful and people listen when I talk. But there's a part of me that pushes that away a little bit because I don't want to, like, I don't see myself as like the guru or the right person who knows the answers. So I like to keep things on an equal level with the people I interact with, where like no one's really above or below. So there's an interesting, like, I don't know how, like, I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but I definitely would resonate that, like, I have the potential to be powerful and people will listen when I talk if I don't actively, you know, diminish that on my side, I guess is what's coming up for me. Um,
Yeah, that's
I've been
gorgeous.
stepping into more of like a mentor role and stuff like that. And I can see that there's like a desire to be led, which means like kind of giving someone else like that power and saying, like, I want to listen to you, you know? And there's a part of me where I'm like, oh, I want to co-create this experience where we're equal collaborators. But I also see that there is a wisdom in hierarchy, like nature is built on hierarchies, you know, and I think you can do a lot for someone if you're responsible in that position of power. So
And then the other one I wanted to bring up, I
being a
said,
mentor.
why did you inquire about my services? What was the magnet, if you could describe it? And you said you want to get organized, develop a
Mm.
healthy, ongoing relationship to your financial life, similar to what has been doing in other areas, taking a spiritual approach to finances, and the only approach that makes sense to me. I really appreciate that you are working towards shifting the financial paradigm this way. So we touched upon that in the beginning of the conversation. This was really important. It
Yeah.
sounds like, I mean, I guess the question is, how would you be able to answer that differently today?
Yeah. Um, I
Or
mean,
do
I
you,
think I'm more organized, you know, I think I'm organized enough. And I think the healthy ongoing relationship is happening. Yeah, thinking back, I didn't have like, I had a strange relationship with money because also I had like a bit of an excess of it. I was living with my parents and paying very little rent, and very like few expenses for the most part, you know. And so it was interesting because I had like an excess of money, but like I didn't feel like I had a healthy relationship. Like I didn't know what to do with it. I kind of felt like almost guilty about saving up money, and like so a lot has shifted around that since then. And yeah, I would say I would describe my relationship to money as healthy and ongoing, like a healthy ongoing relationship at this point. And it's also interesting because I don't think that having a healthy ongoing relationship with money is independent on how much money you have, which is interesting. Like making, you know, like having your needs met and living a full and fulfilling life. If you're doing that, then then you're wealthy, you regardless of how much you have in the bank or not. I feel like I've found that balance, and now it's like almost like the career and what I'm doing with my time and is first, and then the financial income is like a natural byproduct, or
Right.
in a quantum way they're happening at the same time, but it's not really a focus on the physical papers themselves. Or numbers in a bank account. It's a focus on, you know, what is this flow, like what is this tree that I'm growing, to go back to that metaphor.
Yeah.
Like how's the tree growing by cultivating it? Is it healthy, you know, is it bearing good fruit, to harken back to the good book, you
I
know.
love it. So you're still kind of finding out if you could allow yourself to have bouge, especially we talked about like, you know, passing a homeless person and, you know, buying nice stuff for yourself. So these are just kind of some of the conversations we were having. So I just want to fast forward, and you don't have to remember them verbatim, but just the essence of it and what you're saying. Where are you now with the guilt and shame? And do you give yourself permission to enjoy these fruits and believe that you have to give them away, or, you know, if you have excess, is that okay as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a interesting, like, I found that a lot of times the when you're stubborn about something, in my experience, when I'm stubborn about something, I'll speak about myself, is often like something more extreme has to happen to like shake me out of it, and like let me see the other side, or like break free from like this attachment and stubbornness that I had. So around that, like, to make a long story short, I was trying to be very like generous and charitable with my money, ended up getting scammed pretty badly, and by someone like that I thought I could trust and all this stuff like that. And so it kind of like made me realize that, like, again, it's the middle way, that like spending on yourself and, you know, living an abundant life, I guess people might call it, it's not a sin. It's not like at least this is how I feel now. It's especially when you're with other people, you know, your family and friends and stuff all benefit from the abundance you create in yourself. You know, that'll like influence everyone in your aura. But yeah, I definitely, like, I don't remember the timing. I think it was maybe right around or after we worked together, or a little bit before. I don't remember exactly, but like the energy around that has totally shifted, where I'm like, look, I still think it's powerful, and I mean, I still think it's a very important and beautiful thing to give to charity, to give to those in need, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't need to feel guilty about having wealth, you know. And like, it seems so obvious now because I think back at like prophetic figures, you know, and like David and Solomon were kings, you know, like they were prophets, and they also had like insane amounts of wealth, and I'm sure they did good stuff with it too, but like I'm sure they also drove a nice car. You know what I mean? Like they were like on a donkey, just like living in the streets and trying to give away
The
all
Ferrari
the wealth because they
donkey,
felt
yeah.
guilty. Yeah, Jesus brought on, but he was on another level. He was like, we can't all be Jesus, peace be upon him. But but yeah, so I think like trust the calling and stuff like that, and trust your intuition on when it's time to give, when it's time to save, when it's time to spend. And like I think also another thing is there's a bit of hubris about it in thinking that you need to support people for them to like get what they need. And that's kind of saying like taking the role in my personal beliefs and experience of trying to take the role of God and say like, God, you're not providing for this person, I'll provide for this person. And it's like not trusting that the universe, God, whatever
Oh,
word you call it by, will take care of them in the best way possible, whether or not you're part of that plan.
that is so
um
yummy. You really
so
have
yeah.
to check in and be like, do we live in an abundant universe, right? And do we have free will? And
Yeah.
are we creating our realities? So this is kind of what I feel like you have really anchored over the years and have done such a beautiful
Mm.
job in manifesting. Before we leave, though, I do have to say our journey was called Unleashing the Dragon, right? The one thing you haven't talked about that I want to refresh your memory is the martial arts. You had this whole vision of a school and you wanted to be a mentor. And I love that. I think I still hope that's in the queue for you because I feel that in your energy, like you'd be amazing. Just with that, what a powerful energy. And I know we did talk about that quite a bit. So I just want to kind of see where you are with that and if that's still in your vision board.
Yeah. I mean, and I definitely have been, and it's interesting because I started giving some Tai Chi classes while I was here in Azuri. And at first, like a few people showed up, but then it was usually just me. And so I kind of like stopped doing it. But one of the people who was showing up at first has like come up to me just a couple weeks ago, and then again a couple days ago, and been like, hey, I would like to continue doing those Tai Chi classes, if you'd be open to doing that. And I was like, yeah, like that'll help me also stay more consistent with my practice. And again, it's interesting because now I'm seeing that same co-creation energy where I don't really want to be like a teacher. I'm almost like diverting it in being and saying like, okay, cool, yeah, we'll practice together. This will be equally good for both of us.
Okay.
But I think now that like since our conversation today, I'm like, you know what, I can step into that role where it's like you said, I've walked further along this path and further ahead on this path than you, and I can show you, a route that to get along where I've gotten. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, and it's still in my energetic field, and I can see it being like something that when the time is right, it'll blossom. But I'm also seeing that like this is an invitation to start. The universe is inviting me to get back into that energetic route. So it's really cool that you brought that up because
I
yeah, I'm
come representing the
definitely
universe. The universe sends me.
yeah. Earth to Shams, Earth to Shams, or universe to universe,
Well,
actually.
if I could be real, you
Yeah,
had a whole vision of
that's so
starting
cool.
school and working with children, and you had this
Yeah.
whole concept. So
Mm,
I was just curious.
mm,
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but I do. So yeah, if you were going
I
to,
remember it in my heart. It resonates deeply.
oh,
Absolutely.
I love that. I could
Absolutely.
so
You
again
don't
like.
have to like remember something that's in you. You know what I mean?
Oh, I
Like it's
love
like
that
it's
because
not
that
that I
just came out of
remember
your
it
heart.
consciously.
Okay, yeah.
It's important. Yeah,
I,
I think
I don't know.
so.
I
I
just
think
I
so.
feel like that's just another piece of you. I feel like that would be amazing. So just putting that out there as a
I
spokesperson for the
appreciate that.
universe.
That's beautiful. And you know what? Let me not put like a timeline on it because I'm in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh yeah, but this would be a great thing like in my 40s when I really feel like I've honed my practice and I'm more grounded. Like that would be, and God willing, we have children. Like that would be an awesome time to teach them but I'm like, you know what? Let me be open to however it's meant to evolve. Like here's an
Ooh.
invitation from this neighbor, and who knows what could happen. And yeah, if I
Well, how
can be
about
of
this?
service.
Our next catch up,
beautiful.
I'm excited to hear about how it's going.
Okay, I would love that. That sounds amazing.
All right,
All
awesome.
right,
All
nice.
right, we'll speak soon. Bye.
Speak soon. Have a good one.
You
Bye.
too. Cheers.